Admiral Do-hyun stared at the screen. His dark eyes did not blink. The burning planet below filled the main display of the command bridge. New Shanghai, once home to 15 billion humans, now wrapped in fire and death. He was 62 years old. In his lifetime he had seen 3 wars. This attack made the 4th. Each time the Krell came without warning. Each time they killed millions. This time, billions. "Sir?" Lieutenant Jisoo approached. Her voice was soft. Her hands shook as she held out a data tablet. "Central Command wants to speak with you. The Emergency Council is meeting in 1 hour." Do-hyun took the tablet without looking at it. "How many people survived?" Jisoo looked down. "Our first count shows less than 15%, sir. Many of the escape ships were shot down. 13 billion dead. In 1 day." Do-hyun felt something inside him crack. 20 years he had served in the diplomatic corps before returning to military service. 20 years of trying to talk to the Krell. 20 years of holding back humanity's full power, hoping for peace. "Sir?" Jisoo was still waiting. "Tell command I will attend." Do-hyun handed back the tablet. "And Jisoo, bring the Genesis protocol files, all of them." Jisoo's eyes widened. "The Genesis files? But sir, those are—" "I know what they are." Do-hyun finally turned away from the burning world on the screen. "It's time the Council understands what we can really do. What we must do if humanity is to survive." The orbital station above Earth was chaos. Thousands of officials from all human worlds had rushed to the emergency meeting. Security teams struggled to keep order as frightened representatives demanded answers. Do-hyun walked through the crowd. People moved out of his way. His uniform was dusty from the rescue mission on New Shanghai. He had not changed. Let them see the blood and ash, he thought. Let them remember what happens when we show weakness. The council chamber doors opened for him. Inside, 200 of humanity's most powerful leaders sat in rising circles. At the center stood Representative Soo-jin, Earth's chief diplomat. "Admiral Do-hyun," she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "The council has been waiting." "I was busy counting the dead," he replied. The room fell silent. 13 billion, give or take a few million. The final count will take weeks. Soo-jin's perfect calm cracked slightly. "We understand the situation is grave." "No, you don't." Do-hyun walked to the center of the chamber. Jisoo followed, carrying a small black case. "For 50 years we have tried to communicate with the Krell. For 50 years they have only spoken with weapons. 3 trillion human lives have been lost while we debated and sent peace missions." He turned slowly, looking at each section of the chamber. "We have held back. We have used only conventional weapons. We have settled for defensive victories, hoping the Krell would learn to respect our borders." He paused. "They have not. They will not. They understand only one thing: power." From the upper tier, General Tae-won stood. His face was scarred from the first Krell War. "What are you suggesting?" "Admiral, we throw everything we have at them? We've tried that. Their homeworld is too well defended." "Not everything," Do-hyun said quietly. He nodded to Jisoo, who opened the black case. Inside was a single data crystal, glowing with faint blue light. Not the Genesis protocol. The chamber erupted in shouts. Security guards moved closer. Soo-jin raised her hands for silence. "The Genesis protocol was deemed too dangerous," she said when the room quieted. "It was shelved by unanimous vote of this council 10 years ago. And now 13 billion people are dead because of that vote." Do-hyun held up the crystal. "This isn't just a weapon. It's an answer to a question. Does humanity deserve to survive?" He placed the crystal in the central reader. A hologram appeared above it. Complex diagrams, mathematical formulas, and test results. For those who don't know, the Genesis protocol isn't a bomb or a virus or a ray gun, Do-hyun explained. It's something new. Something the Krell cannot defend against because it doesn't attack them in normal space or time. Science Director Mireille stood from her seat. She was small, with gray hair and tired eyes. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but everyone strained to hear her. The Genesis protocol uses quantum mechanics and temporal physics, she said. We discovered it by accident while researching faster-than-light travel. It doesn't destroy the enemy in our timeline. It creates a new timeline where they never evolved beyond simple life forms. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. You're talking about erasing an entire species from history, someone shouted. Mireille nodded slowly. Yes. Not just killing them now, but removing every trace that they ever existed. Their cities, their ships, their art, their language. All of it. Gone. As if they never were. Do-hyun watched the council members' faces. Some looked horrified, others thoughtful. A few looked relieved. This goes against everything humanity stands for, Soo-jin said. We are not gods, to decide which species should exist. Then what are we? Do-hyun asked. Victims? Sacrifices? The Krell have attacked us 4 times, each time worse than the last. They do not want peace, they do not want trade. They want us extinct. He walked the circle of the chamber again. I was there today, on New Shanghai. I saw children burned, alive. I saw entire cities flattened in seconds. The Krell used biological weapons this time, designed specifically to target human DNA. The Genesis protocol requires a human mind to direct it, Mireille added. We cannot simply push a button. Someone must guide the temporal energy, define the boundaries of what is erased and what remains. That person will be consumed in the process. And you're volunteering, I suppose, a council member asked with bitterness. Mireille met his eyes. Yes, I built it. I will use it if ordered. The chamber fell silent again. Do-hyun took back the crystal. I am not asking for authorization to use this weapon today. I am asking for authorization to deliver a message, a final warning to the Krell. He looked at each council member. One more strike against humanity, and we will remove them from existence. Not just kill them, erase them. Make it so they never were. Soo-jin shook her head. They won't believe it. It sounds impossible. Then we show them proof. Do-hyun nodded to Mireille, who touched her tablet. The hologram changed to show a star system. 8 planets orbiting a yellow sun. This is Proxima Testbed, Mireille said. An uninhabited system we used for the test. We targeted only the 4th planet, which had primitive single-cell organisms but no complex life. The hologram zoomed in on the 4th planet, a small rocky world. Then there was a flash of light. When it cleared, the space where the planet had been was empty. The test succeeded beyond our models, Mireille continued. The target was removed from the timeline completely. No debris, no radiation, no record in the fabric of space-time itself. The council stared in silence. The science is sound, Mireille said, and the technology is ready. We can deliver this message to the Krell leadership directly, with proof that cannot be ignored. Do-hyun placed the crystal back in its case. The choice is simple. We can wait for the Krell to attack again and watch another world burn. Or we can show them that humanity has reached its limit, that our patience is vast but not infinite. Representative Soo-jin looked around the chamber, at the faces of 200 leaders who carried the weight of human survival on their shoulders. We will vote, she said at last. But first I have a question for Admiral Do-hyun. She stepped closer to him. Do you believe the Krell will heed this warning? Or do you believe we are simply delaying the inevitable use of this weapon? Do-hyun did not hesitate. I believe the Krell are intelligent. I believe they value their existence. But I also believe they have never faced a true threat before. They see our restraint as weakness. He closed the black case with a soft click. Sometimes the only way to prevent a war is to show your enemy exactly what will happen if they start one. Soo-jin nodded slowly. Then let us vote. Not on whether to use this terrible weapon, but on whether to show our enemy that we can. As the voting began, Do-hyun stood still at the center of the chamber. In his mind, he could still see New Shanghai burning. He could still hear the screams of the dying. And he knew, with cold certainty, what the vote would be. Humanity had reached its breaking point. Captain Ha-jun checked the ship's systems one last time. The stealth courier Whisper was the newest and most advanced ship in Earth's fleet. It was small, built for speed and stealth, not combat. Today, it would carry the most important message in human history. All systems green, Captain, Navigator Yun-ho said from his station. The young man's fingers moved quickly over the control panel. Phase shift drive is ready. We can jump whenever you give the order. Ha-jun nodded. At 45, he was older than most ship captains. He had been chosen for this mission because of his calm mind and steady nerves. And because if things went wrong, he knew how to destroy the ship without leaving a trace. Communications check, he ordered. Communications specialist Ye-jun looked up from his console. All systems ready, sir. The quantum broadcast package is loaded and tested. Once we reach the target, we can send the message to every screen and communication device in their capital city. They won't be able to stop it. Ha-jun stood and walked to the front viewport. The Earth hung in space before them, blue and green, and beautiful. He wondered if he would ever see it again. This mission has been classified as probable one-way, he said to his crew of 5. The Krell may detect us after we broadcast. If they do, our orders are to run, not fight. But I want everyone to understand the risks. The crew members looked at each other. They all knew. They had all volunteered anyway. The council's vote was unanimous, Ha-jun continued. The message will be sent. The Krell will be warned. What happens after that is up to them. He turned back to face his crew. Any questions before we depart? Ye-jun raised his hand slightly. Sir, the message package. I've seen what's in it. Do you think they'll believe it? That we can actually erase them from history? Ha-jun considered the question. I don't know. The Krell think differently than we do. They've never shown fear before, but they've also never faced anything like the Genesis Protocol. He returned to his captain's chair. Prepare for phase shift. Navigator, set course for the Krell home system. Course set, sir. Yun-ho replied. Engage. The stars outside blurred as the Whisper entered phase space, becoming partially out of sync with normal reality. In this state, the ship was nearly impossible to detect. It was humanity's newest technology, and one of its most closely guarded secrets. 3 days later, the Whisper emerged at the edge of the Krell home system. The crew had spent the journey in tense silence, each lost in their own thoughts about the mission. Passive scans only, Ha-jun ordered. What do we have? Science officer Sunmi studied her readouts. 8 planets. The 4th is their homeworld, Krell Prime. Heavy orbital defenses, as expected, multiple moons, all militarized. Any sign they've detected us? No, Captain. Their patrol ships are maintaining standard routes. No change in communications patterns. Ha-jun allowed himself a small smile. The phase shift drive works as advertised then. Good. Take us in, Yun-ho. Slow and steady. The Whisper glided through the Krell system like a ghost. Its engines left no heat signature. Its hull absorbed scanner waves instead of reflecting them. To the Krell defense systems, it simply wasn't there. As they approached Krell Prime, Ha-jun got his first good look at the enemy homeworld. It was a harsh planet, with vast deserts and small seas. The Krell had evolved in a difficult environment, which perhaps explained their aggressive nature. Orbital position achieved, Yun-ho reported. We are holding at 40,000 kilometers above their capital city, Ha-jun nodded. Prepare the broadcast, full spectrum, maximum penetration. Ye-jun's hands moved over his console. Broadcast package ready, sir. The message from Representative Soo-jin is loaded, followed by the demonstration footage from the Genesis test. On your command. Ha-jun took a deep breath. This was the moment. Once the message was sent, there would be no turning back. Humanity was about to threaten an entire species with erasure from reality itself. Is this right? He wondered silently. Then he remembered New Shanghai and the billions who had died there. The Krell had never sought peace. They had never even tried to communicate. They had only killed again and again. "Send the message," he ordered. Yejun pressed a key. Broadcast initiated. On the planet below, every screen and communication device suddenly showed the same image. Representative Sujin of Earth, her face calm, but determined. "To the leadership and people of the Krell Imperium," she began. "For 50 years, our species have been in conflict. For 50 years, humanity has sought peace while you have sought only our destruction. 3 trillion human lives have been lost to your unprovoked attacks." In the Imperial Palace on Krell Prime, Supreme Overlord Kazan-Dur watched with 6 large eyes. His scaled skin darkened with anger at the human's boldness. "Today we deliver our final message," Sujin continued. "Humanity's patience has reached its end. We possess a technology that you cannot defend against. It does not destroy, it erases. Should you attack any human world again, we will deploy the Genesis Protocol. Your entire species will be removed, not just from the present, but from history itself. You will never have existed." Kazan-Dur hissed in disbelief. The message continued. "We offer proof of our capability. The following footage shows a test of the Genesis Protocol on an uninhabited system." The screen changed to show a planet orbiting a distant star. There was a flash of light, and then nothing. The planet was gone. Not destroyed. Not broken into pieces. Simply gone, as if it had never been there at all. In the palace, Chief Scientist Vesnar approached her leader. "My lord," she said in the clicking language of the Krell. "The physics in this demonstration, I do not understand how it is possible, but the visual evidence suggests they are not bluffing." Kazan-Dur's tail lashed angrily. "Silence! These mammals think to threaten the Krell with magic tricks?" War Minister Drool stepped forward. "It must be fake, some kind of primitive deception." "Perhaps," Vesnar admitted. "But our long-range scans did detect an anomaly in that star system last month. A planet that should have been there wasn't." On the screen, Sujin's face reappeared. "One more strike against humanity," she said, "and we wipe you from history. The choice is yours." The broadcast ended. On the Whisper, the crew waited tensely. "Broadcast complete," Yejun reported. The message reached all targets. "Any reaction?" Hajun asked. Sunmi checked her sensors. "Increased communications activity on the planet. Their orbital defense platforms are powering up weapon systems. Have they spotted us?" "Not yet, but they're beginning wide-area scans. They know someone must be nearby." Hajun nodded. "Our mission is complete. Navigator, prepare for emergency. Phase shift, get us out of here." As the Whisper prepared to jump, Hajun looked once more at the Krell homeworld. Would they understand? Would they believe? Or was this the last sight any human would have of the Krell before one species erased the other? "Phase shift ready," Yunho reported. "Jump," Hajun ordered. The Whisper vanished from normal space just as the first Krell patrol ships reached its position. In the Imperial Palace, Supreme Overlord Kazan-Dur called his war council together. "These humans dare to threaten us," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "They think they can frighten the Krell with talk of time weapons and erasure." War Minister Drool bowed. "What are your orders, my lord?" Kazan-Dur's 6 eyes gleamed with hate. "Prepare the armada. All ships, all warriors. We will strike at the human homeworld directly. Let us see if they can erase history when they no longer exist in the present." Chief Scientist Vesnar stepped forward hesitantly. "My lord, if their weapon is real, then we must strike first and strike hard," Kazan-Dur interrupted. "If they possess such a weapon, we cannot allow them time to use it." He rose from his throne, towering over the other, Krell. "In 3 cycles we launched the largest attack force in the history of our empire. We will burn Earth to ash. We will end the human species forever." The War Council clicked their claws together in approval. Only Vesnar remained silent, her scientific mind still troubled by what she had seen in the human demonstration. Could they really do it? She wondered. Could they really make us never have existed at all? But she kept her doubts to herself. The decision had been made. War was coming, the largest and most terrible war the galaxy had ever seen, and only one species would survive it. Far away, the Whisper raced home to deliver the news. The message had been sent. Now humanity could only wait to see how the Krell would respond. Director Minho of Earth Defense Command sat in the dimly lit war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. The massive underground base was humanity's most secure military installation. If Earth fell, command would continue from here. The Whisper has returned, he told the gathered military leaders. Captain Hajun reports that the message was delivered successfully to the Krell homeworld. Fleet Admiral Dai Jung, the oldest military officer still on active duty, leaned forward. His weathered face showed the scars of 3 previous Krell wars. And, he asked, how did they respond? Minho tapped his tablet. A holographic display appeared above the center of the conference table, showing data from long-range sensor networks. They're mobilizing, he said simply. Our deep space arrays are detecting movement throughout Krell space. Ships, troops, weapons, all heading in one direction. He looked up at the assembled officers. Toward Earth. A heavy silence fell over the room. So they didn't believe us, General Taewan said at last. Or they didn't care. They believe, Minho replied, but their response is to try to destroy us before we can use the Genesis protocol. It's a logical move from their perspective. Admiral Dai Jung stood and walked to the holographic display. He studied the movements of the Krell forces with experienced eyes. How long? He asked. 5 days at most, Minho said. They're gathering. The largest force we've ever seen. Over 10,000 warships. This isn't like their previous attacks. This time they're coming to end humanity once and for all. Daejung turned to face the others. Then we have 5 days to prepare. Activate all defense protocols. Begin civilian evacuations to the deep bunkers. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier, everything we have goes to Earth's defense. He looked at Minho. And the Genesis protocol? Is it ready? Minho nodded gravely. Science Director Mireille reports that the temporal core is charging. It will be fully powered when the Krell arrive, and if we need to use it, then God help us all, Minho said softly. Because history itself will change. In her laboratory deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, Science Director Mireille worked without rest. The Genesis protocol device filled the massive chamber. At its center pulsed the temporal core, a sphere of swirling energy that seemed to exist partly in this dimension and partly somewhere else. Power levels at 63%, reported her assistant, Jun Ho. The young scientist had not slept in 2 days, but his hands were steady as he monitored the complex equipment. Mireille nodded without looking up from her calculations. She was small and thin, her hair gone completely white despite being only 52 years old. The Genesis project had taken much from her over the years. Soon it would take everything. The neural interface is calibrated, she said. When the time comes, I'll be able to guide the temporal wave precisely. Junho looked at his mentor with worried eyes. Director, there must be another way. The interface will kill you. Mireille finally stopped working and turned to face him. There is no other way, Junho. The temporal energies must be controlled by a conscious mind or they could spread too far. Affect too much of the timeline. She placed a gentle hand on his arm. I built this weapon. I understand what it does, better than anyone. And I've lived a good life, I'm not afraid. The ground shook slightly as a distant explosion rattled the mountain. They're testing the outer defenses, Mireille said calmly. It begins. On the bridge of the Krell flagship Destiny Crusher, Supreme Overlord Kazan-Dur watched with satisfaction. As his advanced forces engaged the human outer defenses, the small moons of Neptune burned as Krell ships destroyed the human monitoring stations there. Pathetic, he said to War Minister Drool. Their defenses fall like dead leaves. These are merely the outer sentries, my lord, Drool cautioned. The humans have concentrated their forces closer to their homeworld. Kazan-Dur's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of amusement in Krell body language. It will make no difference. We have brought enough firepower to turn their entire planet to ash. Chief Scientist Vesnar approached hesitantly. My lord, I have completed my analysis of the human weapon they called the Genesis Protocol. And? Cousin Dur's voice carried a warning. He had little patience for cautious scientists. The physics are unusual, Vesnar said. Based on the demonstration they showed us, it appears they have found a way to manipulate temporal energy on a scale I would have thought impossible. Can they do what they claim? Drool asked. Erase us from history? Vesnar's scales paled, slightly. Theoretically, yes. But such a weapon would require enormous power, and it would be incredibly dangerous to use, even for them. Kazandur's tail lashed angrily. Then we will destroy them before they can use it. All ships maximum speed to Earth. No more delays. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Dohyun stood on the bridge of the flagship Persistence. Around him, 5,000 human warships formed a protective shell around humanity's homeworld. It was the largest fleet ever assembled, but Dohyun knew it would not be enough. The Krell main force has passed Mars, his tactical officer reported. Estimated time to engagement. 3 hours? Dohyun nodded. He had fought the Krell before. He knew their tactics, their weapons, their strengths and weaknesses, but he had never faced a force this large. Status of planetary defenses? He asked. All systems at full readiness, Admiral. Orbital platforms armed and tracking, ground-based, weapons charged, atmospheric fighters ready for launch. Dohyun looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 10,000 Krell ships were rushing toward Earth carrying the end of humanity. Send a message to all ships, he ordered. All captains to read to all crew members. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Men and women of Earth's defense force. Today we face the greatest threat in human history. The Krell come not to conquer but to exterminate. They seek to end our species forever. Dohyun's voice grew stronger. We will not allow this. For 50 years we have endured their attacks. For 50 years we have hoped for peace. That hope is gone. Today, we fight not just for our lives, but for our right to exist. He looked around at his bridge crew, meeting each person's eyes. Some of us will not survive this day, perhaps many of us, but humanity will survive. This I promise you. Stand firm. Fight well. Make them pay for every inch of space. The message went out, to every ship, every station, every soldier. Across Earth's defense force, men and women prepared for battle, knowing that defeat meant extinction. The battle began at the edge of Earth's gravity well. The Krell fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 10,000. Warship strong. They did not send messages, they did not make demands, they simply attacked. The human fleet met them with everything they had. Fusion missiles, particle beams, kinetic weapons. The vacuum of space lit up with deadly energies as the two forces collided. From his command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Director Minho watched the battle unfold on holographic displays. The human fleet fought with courage and skill, but they were outnumbered 2-1. Our first line is breaking, a tactical officer reported. Krell forces are pushing toward the inner defense ring. Minho's face showed no emotion. They had planned for this. Activate the orbital platforms. Around Earth, 300 massive weapons platforms began to fire. Each was the size of a small city, with firepower to match. The Krell advance slowed as dozens of their ships were destroyed. They're deploying their biological weapons, another officer called out. Targeting Earth directly. Minho turned to his communications officer. Contact Science Director Mirai. Tell her to prepare the Genesis protocol for activation. The officer paled but nodded. Yes, sir. In her laboratory, Mirai received the message with calm acceptance. She had known this moment would come. The Krell would not stop. They would never stop, until either humanity or they themselves ceased to exist. Begin final preparations, she told Junho. Power the neural interface. As she spoke, the mountain shook more violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. They've broken through to the atmosphere, Junho said, checking his monitors. Ground forces are engaging. Mirai nodded. How long can our defenses hold? General Taewan estimates 3 hours at most. That will be enough, Mireille said. She looked at the temporal core pulsing with energies that could rewrite reality itself. It's time to end this war, once and for all. Colonel Hyun Ki led what remained of the 103rd Orbital Drop Infantry through the burning streets of Seoul. The once beautiful city was now a battlefield. Tall buildings had fallen. Fires burned everywhere. The air was thick with smoke and the sounds of weapons. "Keep moving," he shouted to his soldiers. "We need to hold this sector." Hyun Ki was 40 years old. He had fought the Krell for 15 years. Never had he seen them attack with such force. They had landed troops in every major city on Earth. Their ships filled the skies. Their strange insect-like soldiers filled the streets. At his side, Sergeant Jinnae fired her particle rifle at an approaching Krell warrior. The alien fell, its hard outer shell cracked by the high-energy beam. "Sir," Jinnae called out, "we're receiving an emergency broadcast from command." Hyun-Ki touched the side of his helmet. His heads-up display flickered, showing Admiral Do-hyun's face. The Admiral looked tired but calm. "All Earth Defense Forces, this is the final countdown," Do-hyun said. "The Genesis protocol will activate in 30 minutes. The temporal wave will start from these coordinates." A set of numbers appeared at the bottom of the screen. "All units are ordered to move away from this location if possible. Repeat, disengage, and reach minimum safe distance if you can." The broadcast ended. Jinnae looked at Hyun-Ki with confusion. "Minimum safe distance from a time weapon? What does that mean?" Hyun-Ki checked the coordinates. His blood turned cold. The Genesis protocol would activate directly beneath them, in the secure facility they were defending. "It means," he said, slowly, "that anyone too close when it activates will be caught in the time wave, will be erased along with the Krell." Understanding dawned in Jinnae's eyes. She looked around at their squad of 20 soldiers, all that remained of a unit that had once numbered 500. "So we're buying time with more than just our lives," she said. Hyun-Ki nodded. "We're buying time with our existence." He turned to address his troops. "Listen up. New orders. We have 30 minutes to slow the Krell advance. After that, none of us will ever have existed." The soldiers looked at each other. Some seemed afraid. Others looked relieved that the long war would finally end. "What are your orders, sir?" Jinnae asked. Hyun-Ki checked his weapon. "We hold this position as long as we can. We give Director Mireille the time she needs. And we make these bug-eyed bastards regret ever attacking Earth." He pointed to a nearby building that offered a good defensive position. "Move there. Set up the heavy weapons. Use all the ammo we have left. No need to save anything now." As his troops moved to follow his orders, Hyun-Ki looked up at the sky. Through gaps in the smoke, he could see the space battle continuing. Kimanao. And Krell ships destroyed each other in flashes of light. It was beautiful in a terrible way. "Come on," he said to Jinnae. "Let's make our last half-hour count." In the Himalayan facility, Mireille attached the neural interface to her head. The device looked like a silver crown, with dozens of thin wires connecting to her scalp. Each wire would help her brain connect directly to the Genesis protocol. Power levels at 98%. Junho reported. "Neural interface is online and stable." Mireille sat in the control chair at the center of the room. From here she would guide the temporal energies. She would decide what was erased and what remained. "Begin final countdown," she said. 20 minutes. Junho started the timer, then looked at his mentor with sad eyes. "Is there really no other way?" Mireille shook her head. "The temporal energies must be guided by a conscious mind. A computer can't make the thousands of subtle adjustments needed to contain the effect. Without guidance, the wave could erase too much, maybe even humanity itself. So you'll die to save everyone else." "I'm not dying, Junho," Mireille corrected gently. "I'll be erased along with the Krell. In the new timeline, I will never have existed at all." Junho wiped tears from his eyes. "That's worse than death." "No," Mireille said. Because everyone I've ever loved will still exist. Earth will be safe. Humanity will continue, that's all that matters. The facility shook violently as Krell weapons struck the mountain above them. They know we're here, Junho said. They're trying to destroy the facility before we can activate the protocol. Mireille nodded calmly. They won't succeed. This facility was built to withstand anything short of a direct hit from a planet cracker bomb, and the Krell won't use those. They want to take Earth, not destroy it completely. She looked at the temporal core, its swirling energies growing stronger by the second. 15 minutes, she said. Send the final warning to all human forces. On the bridge of the Persistence, Admiral Do-hyun received the countdown update. 15 minutes until the Genesis protocol activated. 15 minutes until history itself changed. Around his ship, the battle continued. The human fleet had fought bravely, but they were losing. More than half their ships were destroyed. The Krell had broken through to Earth in multiple places. Message from Director Min-ho, his communications officer, reported. All ships are ordered to jump to emergency coordinates at the 10-minute mark. Do-hyun nodded. Any ships that remained near Earth when the protocol activated would be caught in the temporal wave. They would be erased along with the Krell. Transmit to all captains, he ordered. Begin preparations for emergency jump. He walked to the viewport and looked at Earth, his home, the birthplace of humanity. In a few minutes, the planet would still be there, but the timeline would be different. The Krell would never have evolved into an advanced species. The wars would never have happened. Billions of people who had died would live again, with no memory of what had happened, and he would remember none of it. Because in the new timeline, he would be a different person. One who had never fought the Krell, never lost friends to their attacks, never seen worlds burn. Sir, his tactical officer called out, the Krell flagship is transmitting a message. They want to speak with you. Do-hyun raised an eyebrow in surprise. The Krell had never tried to communicate before. Put it through, he said. The main screen showed the bridge of the Krell flagship. Supreme Overlord Kazandur stood there, his 6 eyes fixed on Do-hyun. Human, the Krell leader said, his words translated by computer. You cannot win this battle. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Do-hyun smiled without humor. We are not going to surrender, and we're not going to die. Look around you, Kazandur hissed. Your fleet is destroyed, your planet is invaded, you have lost. No, Do-hyun said calmly. You have lost. You just don't know it yet. He nodded to his communications officer, who displayed the countdown timer on the screen. 13 minutes remaining. In 13 minutes, Do-hyun explained, the Genesis protocol will activate. You and your entire species will be erased from history. Not killed. Erased. You will never have existed. Kazandur's scales darkened with rage. You lie. No such weapon exists. You saw the demonstration, Do-hyun reminded him. You chose not to believe it. That was your mistake. For the first time, uncertainty showed in the Krell leader's eyes. You would use such a weapon, even knowing the danger to yourselves? You left us no choice, Do-hyun said. For 50 years we tried to find peace. You answered with death. Now we answer with erasure. He leaned closer to the screen. Even now, it's not too late. Withdraw your forces. Leave Earth. Leave human. Space. Never return. If you do this, we will deactivate the protocol. Kazandur was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed. A harsh clicking sound that needed no translation. You bluff, he said. No species would use a weapon that changes time itself. The risks are too great. Do-hyun nodded. You're right. The risks are great. But we've calculated them carefully. And we've decided a universe without the Krell is better than a universe without humanity. He cut the transmission. Prepare all ships for emergency jump, he ordered. 10 minutes remaining. In the streets of Seoul, Colonel Hyun-ki and his troops fought a desperate holding action. They had killed dozens of Krell warriors, but more kept coming. Half his remaining soldiers were dead or wounded. 5 minutes, Jinhee said, checking her helmet display. Time to fall back to the final position. Hyun-Ki nodded. They had planned this carefully. Their last stand would be directly over the facility, where they could do the most to slow the Yi Krell advance. As they moved through the ruined streets, Jinhye asked, "Do you think it will hurt, being erased?" Hyun-Ki considered the question. "I don't think we'll feel anything. One moment we'll exist and the next moment we never did." "It's hard to imagine," Jinhye said. "Never having existed." "Think of it this way," Hyun-Ki replied. "In the new timeline, Earth will be safe. The Krell will never have evolved into a threat. All the people who died in these wars will live full, happy lives." Jinhye smiled slightly. "That's worth disappearing for." They reached their final position. The Krell were close now, their strange clicking language echoing through the ruins. 3 minutes, Hyun-Ki said. "Let's make them count." His remaining soldiers set up their weapons and prepared for the final battle. Not to win, but to delay. Every second they bought might matter. Hyun-Ki looked at the faces of his troops, men and women who were about to be erased from reality, to save their species. They showed no fear, only determination. "It has been my honor to serve with you," he told them. 1 minute left. The Krell charged their position. Hyun-Ki and his soldiers opened fire. The Captain Hee-won of the Earth exploration vessel Discovery stood on the bridge, looking at the beautiful green planet on the main screen. The ship had just arrived at KX-479, the third world of a yellow star, much like Earth's sun. "It's perfect," Science Officer Yuri said, studying her readings. "Oxygen atmosphere, clean water, mild climate, and no dangerous animals." Hee-won nodded. After 6 months in space, they had found a world that could become humanity's newest colony. "Any signs of intelligent life?" he asked. "No, sir," Yuri replied. "We detect many plants and some simple animals, fish in the oceans, small creatures on land, but nothing advanced. No cities, no technology, nothing that shows intelligence." Hee-won frowned slightly. Something felt strange about this. A sense of something forgotten. "That's unexpected," he said. Intelligence suggested this might be the homeworld of an advanced species. Communications. Specialist Bin Jun looked up from his console, confused. "What species, Captain? Our reports mark this star system as unexplored." Hee-won tried to remember. There had been a name, something he had read in the mission briefing. But now, trying to recall, it felt like grasping at smoke. "I'm not sure," he admitted. "Perhaps I was thinking of another mission." He shook off the strange feeling. "Prepare a landing party, we'll explore the surface." The shuttle landed in a wide, grassy plain. Hee-won led the exploration team of 6 people across the alien landscape. The air was clean and fresh. Colorful, plants grew everywhere. Small animals scattered as the humans approached. "It's beautiful," Yuri said, taking samples of the soil and plants. "And remarkably Earth-like. The plants use chlorophyll, just like at home." Bin Jun was using a scanner to check the surrounding area. "Captain," he called suddenly, "I'm detecting something artificial, about half a kilometer east." Hee-won adjusted his direction. "Let's check it out." They walked across the plain until they came to a small hill, and there, half buried in the soil, was a monolith of black stone. It stood 3 meters tall, its surface smooth and shiny. "This shouldn't be here," Yuri said, examining it with her instruments. "There's no intelligent life on this planet. Who built this?" Hee-won approached the monolith. Its surface reflected his face like a mirror, and on one side, he saw something that made his heart beat faster. Writing. Not in one language, but in many, including human languages. "Look at this," he called to the others. "There's English, Chinese, Arabic, dozens of Earth languages." The team gathered around, staring in amazement at the inscription. In each language, it said the same thing. "One more strike, and we wipe you from history." "What does it mean?" Bin Jun asked. "Who left this here?" Hee-won ran his hand over the smooth surface. "I don't know, but it feels important, like a warning." "But a warning to whom?" Yuri wondered. There's no one here to read it. He stepped back, looking at the monolith thoughtfully. Perhaps it wasn't meant for whoever is here now. Perhaps it was meant for whoever might evolve here in the future. A strange chill ran down his spine as he spoke these words, though he didn't know why. The exploration team returned to the Discovery, with reports of the perfect colony world and the mysterious monolith. No one could explain how a human-made object ended up on a planet humans had never visited before. We'll send the data back to Earth, Hewan decided. Let the scientists figure it out. Meanwhile, we'll continue with the colony assessment. That night in his quarters, Hewan dreamed. He saw Earth burning, strange insect-like creatures attacking human cities, a desperate battle in space, and a woman with white hair sitting in a chair, connected to a machine that glowed with impossible light. He woke suddenly, his heart racing. The dream had felt so real, like a memory rather than a dream, but that was impossible. Earth was peaceful. Humanity had never fought a war with insect creatures. Had it? Across the galaxy, on many worlds, similar monoliths stood, always with the same message in the languages of whoever found them, always with the same warning. On a jungle planet in a distant system, reptilian aliens discovered one and built their civilization around its message of peace. On an ocean world, aquatic beings studied their monolith and chose exploration over conquest. On a dozen worlds, 100, the message was the same. And somehow, emerging species understood. Not with their minds, but with something deeper. An instinctive knowledge that aggression and conquest led to erasure. The monoliths remained when the civilizations that found them turned to dust. They waited for new species to evolve, to discover, to read the warning. And no one knew who had placed them there. On Earth, Admiral Do-hyun sat in his office at Space Command headquarters. At 65, he was the oldest serving admiral in Earth's exploration fleet. His final mission before retirement was to oversee the new colony on KX-479. On his desk sat reports about the mysterious monolith. Scientists had studied it for years, but found no answers. The stone was not from KX-479. The writing was definitely human. But no human expedition had visited that planet before the discovery. Do-hyun looked out his window at the peaceful Earth below. Sometimes when he was very tired, he had strange dreams. Dreams of a desperate war against an enemy he couldn't quite remember. Dreams of brave soldiers making a final stand. Dreams of a woman named Mireille who sacrificed everything to save humanity. But these were just dreams. Earth had known peace for generations. The worst conflict in recent history had been a brief trade dispute with the Centauri colonies. Still, sometimes Do-hyun would wake from these dreams with tears on his face, feeling a profound sense of loss, as if he had forgotten something important, something that had shaped his life even though it had never happened. Today, as he read the reports from KX-479, that feeling was stronger than ever. One more strike, and we wipe you from history, he read aloud, tasting the strange words. They felt right in his mouth as if he had said them before. But that was impossible, wasn't it? Outside his window, Earth turned peacefully in space. Its people lived without fear of extinction. Its colonies thrived among the stars. And humanity moved forward, guided by an instinct for peace that no one could quite explain. Whatever shadows had once haunted human history had long since passed, though sometimes in his dreams, Do-hyun remembered a war that had never happened and a choice that humanity had never needed to make. The end.